Delphi survey. We'll perform a Delphi survey with 2 rounds to help decide on items that could be modified, added to, or removed from the PRISMA 2009 checklist. We plan to ask participants to consider the following guiding principles when reviewing existing, new, or modified items for inclusion. 1. Reporting of the item should facilitate reproducibility of the SR or meta-analysis, that is, users should be able to recreate the findings based on the information reported. 2. Reporting of the item facilitates assessment of risk of bias in and applicability of the SR findings. 3. Item is likely relevant to nearly all SRs of interventions. 4. The set of items represent the minimum that should be reported in all SRs of interventions. Items are not too detailed for a minimum reporting guideline. Members of the core group will suggest methodologists, systematic reviewers, journal editors, and end users, that is, policymakers, guideline developers, patients, physicians, and medical students to approach. Participants will be invited via email to complete the Delphi surveys via the online software Qualtrics. Participants will not know the identities of other individuals in the Delphi panel, nor will they know the specific answers that any individual provides. In all rounds, the survey will remain open for 3 weeks, with a reminder email sent 1 week after the initial invitation. Individuals who indicate that they wish to opt out of the survey will be removed from subsequent invitations. To maximize participant response, we will include an incentive prize to be raffled to one of the completing responders. In the first section of the Round 1 survey, participants will be invited to comment on each of the existing 27 items in the PRISMA checklist. They will be asked to indicate whether they prefer to A. Keep the item as is, B. Modify the item, or C. Remove the item from the checklist. In the second section of the Round 1 survey, participants will be asked whether each proposed potential new item should be included in the updated checklist. Possible response options will include yes, no, and unsure. In both sections, participants will be given the opportunity to provide rationale for their responses, to suggest rewording of existing and proposed new items, and to suggest additional items not listed in the survey. We'll calculate frequencies of each response option for each item. For an item to meet consensus, one of the response options for the item will need to be rated by more than 66% of Delphi respondents. This threshold is based on what has been used in previous reporting guidelines, which is 38 and 762 references. The PRISMA DDA and the PRISMA DDA. That's it. The core group will discuss the findings of the Round 1 survey via teleconference and will consider revising items or introducing new items based on suggestions from survey respondents. We will email to all participants the Round 2 Delphi survey a feedback report summarizing the level of consensus that was reached for each item in the Round 1 survey, as well as de-identified comments to justify ratings. For the Round 2 survey, participants will be asked to consider all items not meeting consensus in Round 1, as well as any new items suggested by at least one participant or core group member during Round 1. Response options will be the same as those used in Round 1. Results of the second survey will be reviewed and discussed by the core group via teleconference. Items for which there was no consensus response will be considered high priority topics for discussion at the in-person consensus meeting. In-person consensus meeting. We will hold a 2-day in-person consensus meeting to develop a draft version of the updated PRISMA checklist in late 2018. We will invite core group members and key stakeholders, presenting methodologists, systematic reviewers, journal editors, and users of systematic reviews. That is, patients, guideline developers, and policymakers. Results of the Delphi surveys will be discussed, and we will focus particularly on items for which a majority opinion was not obtained. We will also discuss dissemination and implementation plans. We anticipate the meeting will include approximately 25 participants. Following the meeting, the project co-leads will refine the draft version of the updated PRISMA checklist and circulate it to the core group and meeting attendees for feedback. The checklist will be revised where necessary by the core group in response to the feedback collected. Piloting. This is where we are. We are at the piloting stage right now. That's what I'm going to do. We will invite authors of SRs, students undertaking SR courses, workshops, and peer reviewers and editors of journals who frequently publish SRs to pilot the draft version of the updated PRISMA checklist. We will ask those who pilot the checklist whether the wording of items is ambiguous or difficult to interpret. Finalizing PRISMA update. Results of the piloting will be summarized in a teleconference with core group members. During this teleconference, members will decide upon the final list of items to include in the PRISMA update. Once finalized, the co-leads will coordinate the updating of the PRISMA explanation and elaboration document. Drafting and revising of the explanation and elaboration document will either be done remotely or in person at a writing retreat. Dissemination and knowledge translation strategy. We'll plan to submit a paper presenting the updated PRISMA checklist in a revised explanation and elaboration document to an open access journal. The explanation and elaboration document will provide detailed guidance on each item along with exemplars of item reporting from published SRs. We will revise the existing PRISMA statement website so that it includes the latest versions of the checklist and explanation and elaboration papers. We will raise awareness of the updated reporting guideline by presentations and workshops, relevant conferences, focus on SR methodology, health technology assessment, and evidence-based medicine. That is Cochrane Colloquia, Evidence Live, HTAI, Annual Meeting, GIN Conference, the PRISMA Statement and Equator Network, Twitter accounts, and in a series of international webinars. We are using an integrated knowledge translation approach to update the PRISMA statement and anticipate that this process will facilitate endorsement and implementation of this guideline. We plan to draft standardized text to include instructions for authors and peer reviewers, create an editable checklist for authors to submit to journals, and a template PRISMA flow diagram. We will also consider developing an online writing tool based on the updated PRISMA checklist. For these, we anticipate using methods similar to those employed by Barnes and others who developed an online writing tool based on the concert statement, Cobweb. 63. Impact, Cobweb, Barnes, Cobweb. Barnes, Cobweb, tool, consort. What does it look like? Because, in my opinion, the updated PRISMA 2020 guidance should not only include the updated items, but the updated presentation of the tool itself. Because in 2020, it is a required thing that we have this tool presented online and interactive, which it isn't. By now it isn't. It is just a checklist. Moreover, I want all of the PRISMA extensions be integrated in one framework because it is counterproductive having multiple checklists that you have to coordinate by hand, and most of them have at least some overlapping items and overlapping uses. That's just irrational to have that in 2020. So where is the link? I can't see a link here. RightNet tool. Okay. Okay, where is the tool itself? This is sometimes a problem with these papers describing some kind of a tool. Yeah, it happens that paper actually describes a tool but fails to provide any link with the tool published. This is always discouraging, very discouraging. To like not have the very tool at hand to test it and see what it looks like in reality on the web. Well, this is the link. Oh, login anonymous. No anonymous. Name or server is not known. What the hell? Well, it doesn't work, man, does it? It doesn't. Okay, but let's just have a look at it. What it looks like. What they want to be making. Writing tool. Why are there 3 files? Okay, this is the file. Okay. So I kind of get it. So it's just a form with fields that includes information from the checklist and some information from expression and elaboration document. Well, that's not what I'm talking about actually. Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about. But I think that it has to be more than that. It has to be a form that incorporates not only the tool but the instruments to update the tool, so that the next update, let's say 2025 update, would be done more in a more well neat manner. Like they could have GitHub connected to all the thing. They could OSF connected to all this thing. And for example, they got an OSF repository for the 2020 update, but it's not connected to the main Prisma statement website, etc., etc. So I mean that technically this process is far from optimal. Far from optimal. Okay, where is that? We'll also liaise with the developers of Stat Reviewer software, which performs an automated audit of the statistical and reporting integrity of scientific manuscripts. Whatever. As of January 2018, manuscripts can be checked to meet the following reporting guidelines. Stat Reviewer is currently considering implementing PRISMA. Okay. Conclude, we anticipate that the updated PRISMA reporting guidelines will ensure that systematic reviewers reporting, so on. Okay, so we got this. So what we actually, okay, so we are now well aware of what happened in the protocol. I started examining it a little earlier than I started the video, but eventually what they did was collect some literature, and they got a systematic review published. They collected some methodology based on methodology used in updating consort statement and the STAR statement and the PRISMA DTA statement. And so what they did, they actually what they wanted to do, their objectives were to find methodology. The literature review was targeted at finding methodological studies related to the systematic review process, and some comments and suggest revision to PRISMA statement and accounts of end user research. So eventually all the literature somehow associated with the PRISMA statement and the okay. Well, so what we're gonna have to do is just look at the literature review that's been published on OSF. Then the Delphi survey and so on. So I mean, by now the literature review has been conducted. The Delphi survey has been conducted, and an in-person consensus meeting should have been conducted. And now we are at the piloting stage. So let's just open the what? The OSF. The OSF repository. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, I have to say some words about the very protocol. It was published in February 2018 on the OSF website. It was first mentioned in December 2017 on Equator Network. So now, we got recent activity. Last activity was in April. I got the draft checklist on April 14, and the link to the survey. So just prior to that, they made the last update to the repository. So here is the article. Here is the review. Okay. Mapping of reporting guidance. Preferred report items for systemic reviews and analysis, blah 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 blah. We registered, that's good. We performed several tests to identify reporting guidance. Robust. So what? Yeah, they used an interesting search strategy. They used a search strategy that had been previously developed for PRISMA DDA, I think. And this was the strategy that had been peer reviewed using the press checklist, and so it was a robust search strategy. They modified it for their review. Yeah. So what did they do eventually? We performed several tasks to identify reporting guidance. March 1, 2018, one author on March 1. Yeah, so that was just after they published this study protocol. Okay, so that's just right. That's what they did. One author screened the titles of all 398. I just want to show you that it was really published in February, version 1, and the date is February 2018. So everything is okay. Okay, let's move on with the review. Screen the titles of all 398 reporting guidelines listed in the publicly available library maintained by the Equator Network. That seems very robust. I think there was once I needed to I needed to review existing guidelines on equator network, and I did just the same thing. So it seems very logical. There is not a lot of reporting checklists on equator network. So it's the most logical thing to do is actually screen all of them. That's what they did. That's very good, I think. The library was checked again on 31 May 2019. By that time, 413 guidelines were available. Blah. From this list, we included all PRISMA extensions and other reporting guidelines for SRs and other evidence synthesis published after 2009. Regardless of the scope of these guidelines, any discipline or type of included studies. That seems logical. The same author also sought reporting guidance that was available in 4 manuals for SRs of healthcare interventions, the Cochrane Handbook for Systematic Reviews of Interventions, the 2011 version, that is the 5.2 version, I think, because the 5.1 version was 2009 probably, but no, it was 2018 handbook. That's it. The sixth version was not available at the moment. It was published by the end of 2019 and early in 2020, so they couldn't have used it. March 2019, okay. 2018, 2011, what am I saying? 2011, Cochrane sent, okay, the 2011 U.S. Institute of Medicine Centers, the HRQ Guide, and the Joanna Briggs Institute Reviewers Manual. They had mentioned all of these in the protocol. So that's just perfect. The same author also reviewed items including 3 recently developed critical appraisal tools, the Robust and the MSTAR 2. What actually concerns me is that there is no mentioning of the ROB2 tool. I'm not sure when it was published, but it was published. Yeah, by then it was published. So I'm not sure why they're not mentioning it, and they're not mentioning the Robbins tool. But it's probably not relevant because the Robbins I tool is for non-randomized studies. So that's just very clear. But why they're not mentioning the ROB2 tool is unclear. But probably we'll get to it. 6 meta research studies in the lead author's personal collection were included. I would just want to have a look. I just want to have a look at the references. Let's see that. Let it be open for now. 2123. Interesting. Let's look at the license. Creative Commons NC/ND. Non-commercial, non-derivative. So, am I allowed to use these documents for this video? Yes, I am, unless I activate any sponsorship, any ads. Then I'm gonna be violating the license. So I'm not activating any YouTube ads, any monetary support. So, and I'm not doing any derivatives. So it's just perfectly fine for me to use it in the video. Okay, 6 meta research, 2123. 21 cross-sectional study. This is a study by Page. It's clear. Clearly, they know about the studies they conducted themselves. Reproducible research practices are underused in systematic reviews. Whoa. Well, that's an interesting study. Matthew is actually doing big research right now, uh, reproducibility research. When I connected with him, I found out that, and I'm conducting similar research also, um, also concerning the reproducibility of systematic reviews, and I found out that they too were doing just the same thing, and I didn't actually come across this article before. I did a search, I did a systematic search, never came across. But probably this is just the article that I came across. We evaluate random samples. What did they do? Wow. This is actually a very interesting study. We'll do something that is not allowed. I'm pirating the article on YouTube. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. What did they do here? We conducted this project Open Science Framework. Well, how about that? Okay. Oh, they got a preprint here posted for free, so there is actually no harm done. No harm done. See, there is a preprint. So, actually, no problem with that. This study was conducted concurrently with another project. We select articles from a database of SRs we sampled. Now, the thing is that I did actually conduct a systematic search to find studies evaluating reproducibility of systematic reviews, but what I found was the only study that actually evaluated the reporting of the reviews, whether or not did they follow PRISMA standards and PRISMA guidelines, and they did not actually assess the reproducibility, the very reproducibility of the review. And here it looks like they did assess it. What did they do? We selected the articles. The eligibility have been described elsewhere. Okay. Prisma P. Did they assemble previously? What is this study? 14. That's interesting. Let me see. Nah, not right. Yeah. This is the study that they referenced in the literature review. Look, like this is an example of such a study that assessed reporting and methodological quality using MSTAR, quality items using Prisma, whatever, but not actually trying to reproduce the review. So that was kind of what I was thinking about here. And what is this study about? They searched. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that's an abstract methods protocol. That work that's been done by the Page, Altman, Shamsir, Moore, Draco, Samson, all these surnames, all these names, they are well associated with good research. They're what they do, their reviews, per protocol. They're publishing the protocol, and they're registering it. It's just very refreshing to read such reports because it's rather rare. Okay. Legibility. Now we consider to meet the PRISMA P definition, that is, articles that explicitly stated methods identify studies explicitly, blah 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 blah. So we did not exclude. Blah, blah. Uh-huh. Okay. That's not very relevant right now. We searched throughout one calendar month. More limit to English. Yeah. Oh, that's a that looks very that should be a search strategy that somehow derived from the well, it looks very similar to current the current PubMed systematic reviews filter. No, more or less like that. Reported by Moore. Okay. So it targets Cochrane, journal, CDSR journal, or search or meta-analysis, or Medline, or system Medline text word. That's interesting. Or meta-analysis review or search and methods in abstract. Oh, okay. Well, it seems logical. So how many records did they receive who performed random sample? A lot. They okay, well, more or less I get what they did. So they did a robust search to identify multiple systematic reviews, an exhaustive search, and over Medline, in Medline, just Medline. Okay. So they found all the systematic reviews, almost all of the systematic reviews published in Medline in February, indexed there in February 2014. They took, and was around 2,000 records, and then they took a random sample, right? No, they did not do random sampling. So what did they actually do? Screening, data analysis. What of that? Okay. Searched. They were indexed in February 2014. Okay. That's an interesting phrase. Information special already modified search records in each of the 3 months prior to and following February 2014, which showed that the number of records entered during February was represented these months. Okay, so that they found a good way to representatively restrict their set of records. That's commendable. Screening was undertaken using distiller SR. Then the extract we performed on a random sample of 300 of included SRs with which were selected using the random number generator, a pseudo random number generator, but that's perfectly okay, I think. Well, for these purposes, there is actually no difference whether it's pseudo random or truly random. That's true randomness is important. Is important for situations where the random sequence could possibly be deciphered. This is the only problem with, well, probably the most vital problem with pseudonumber sequences is that they can be deciphered. When, on the other hand, truly random sequences cannot be deciphered. But that's not actually an issue here. That's an issue in cybersecurity, but not here. Sampling was stratified so that the proportion of Cochrane reviews we called. Wow, that's commendable. But why would it be not equal to that in total sample if it was a random sample? That it should be kind of equal. But they put more effort into it. They stratified it in plus to randomize it. Okay, they were collected. So what they actually did, they took a 300 SARS. Let's have a look. What power did it actually give them? Power calc. There was a good online power calculator. Power calculation. Sample size here. I don't remember the website. That was a very good sample size calculator. No, not this one. Yeah, there is a lot of good sample size calculators, but this was very very good looking. Let me see. We used it in some of our projects. Wow. Look. Somebody's tarred. Wow. project. That's great, That's fascinating. Okay. Well, let's have a look. Where did we use it? We use it when doing power analysis for the GSQ study. I was in here, somewhere in here. Yeah, that's it. The ReoSoft calculator. That's it. So we got here 682. References, and we used 300 references. The margin of error would be around 4. Well, let it be around 5%. So effectively, all the calculations they did were plus or minus 5%. Okay. But never mind that. Okay, so they use this database. Got that. This is the method of liberal acceleration, that is, where two authors need to independently exclude a record for it to be excluded, while only one author needed to include a record. Well, yeah, I too use this method. This is very... I just didn't know that it was called liberal acceleration, but good to know. Subsequently, two authors independently screen each potential blah 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 blah. I think this is exactly the method that was called safety screening. What was mentioned in some of the articles that I looked up already. It was somewhere around here. Yeah, that study. Let's see. They compared a couple of safety first. Couple of screening strategies. They compared the cost effectiveness, the safety first strategy, included or provisionally included, routine and NRFT screening phase. Yeah. Okay. So that's a safety first method or a liberal acceleration, whatever we call it. Subsequently, the two authors, any discrepancies and so on, there were 684, right? 82. Well, never mind. RAM sample and data on their epidemiological and important characteristics were collected. For the present, were restricted inclusion to the 110 of randomized or non-randomized therapeutic interventions were reported at least one meta-analysis. Okay, that's kind of clear. Data collection, that's the most interesting thing. In the we collected, we included 26 that characterized reproducible research practices. Selection warden was influenced. How many meta-analytic effect estimates were reported? Whether it would be possible, whether. Some items, how many meta-analysis? It'd be useful to just look at the data extraction form. If it's presented somewhere, we'll just we'll have a look in a minute. The index meta-analysis was the first reported of the, if no, whoa. If so, their primary target was to look at the reproducibility of meta-analysis, right? We investigate how often research practices, reproducible practices, no, not only the meta-analysis, but it's mostly meta-analysis here. Because what I focused on in my research was reproducibility of the search strategies I found around 30 plus systematic reviews on spinal injuries, and I found that just two of them there were actually one review. One was the update of the other, a Cochrane review. It was kind of reproducible, more or less reproducible. The searches were more or less reproducible, and for all others, 30 reviews, they were absolutely non-reproducible. That was very interesting finding, and I still didn't publish it. I did this research in 2018, I think, or 2017. Still didn't publish it, but I'm going to publish it. Just like just wait, and we'll do it. Yeah, it's actually published on GitHub. The raw data can be found there, but it's in a format that's incomprehensible, like very incomprehensible. You're gonna have to spend a lot of time to just process this information. So we're going to process it eventually and publish it. Oh, but never mind that. The index meta-analysis, if no outcome. Okay. We evaluated the completeness of reporting of results of all included studies to determine whether it would be possible to recreate each meta-analysis, subgroup analysis, or sensitivity analysis based on the data presented. So they mostly investigated reproducibility of the analysis, right? Did not attempt to recreate the analysis ourselves. They did not do it. So that's still a study that is about whether or not it looks reproducible, but not about reproducing it. So that's what we needed to find out. Let's just have a look at the results. For instance, they did not look at the reproducibility of searches or screenings. So yeah, that's an interesting study, but it's irrelevant. Okay. So let's go on with that, with our review. 31, 40, 23, yeah. 24, flaws in the application to gradation of statistical analysis. I think, yeah, that was probably about the same study. And 31, 33, let's have a look. This is probably a report of the same study. Yeah, I think I saw this title in the preprint. Yeah, okay. I don't know why they actually published the same study twice, but probably there were some differences. Never mind that. 31, 33. Misleading conflict systematic review. Okay, never mind that. 6 meta-research studies and lead authors' personal collection work, which included an evaluation of reporting quality of SRs using a tailored reporting checklist, were also reviewed. 5 key reporting guidelines for other study designs published after 2009. That's a very good, actually, turn that they took not only the SR reporting guidelines but other reporting guidelines. That's very considerate of them, of the authors. And the 2017 guidelines for the content statistical analysis plans in clinical trials. The sample, I think, yeah, the sample guidelines. Guidelines for the content JAMA. Look, the sample guidelines are kind of old. They're old. So what are these guidelines? SEPs. Some other. So that's just not the. So the sample guidelines are not the only guidelines. Actually, eventually, as it looks like. Okay. Review to identify general items that could potentially be added. List of services. So what they did. They reviewed SR reporting guidelines, other reporting guidelines, articles assessing studies assessing risk and bias, methodological quality, or some other meta-research studies. Yeah. The list of sources identified was sent to all co-authors who were invited to suggest additional sources. That's important. I want to know who was in the core group. I think it should be reported somewhere. We also conducted a systematic search for published comments or suggested revisions to. Well, that seems logical. In addition to that, they were looking for studies or reports that were dedicated specifically to the possible amendments to the PRISMA guideline. PRISMA. Yeah. The search strategy is okay. Compile new reporting of reporting items from all included sources. MGP extracted all guidance that they deemed potentially relevant to the reporting of SRs and meta-analysis of interventions. Guidance for conduct of SRs and meta-analysis was not extracted. That's important. That's important that the 2020 PRISMA update is still update of the reporting guideline. It is still not considered by the authors as a conduct guideline. Well, it seems logical because there is a Cochrane handbook, and it is a dedicated handbook. It is a dedicated manual for conduct of systematic reviews. And so it is still just a reporting guideline. It is important to keep that in mind. Important guidelines for SRs were reviewed in chronological order, starting with the PRISMA 2009 statement filed by each of its extensions and other sources. Verbatim. Okay. One column. Item bank. Let's have a look at the item bank. Okay. With one column for report item, another for the source of the text extracted. Let's have a look at it, how it looked like. So they just published the references. What's that? What is that? List of included sources. Okay. They have not published the, no, they did. They did. Collated list of unique report items. They did not publish the original data table. But that's okay. It was a little bit strange, but alright. Collated list of unique reporting items. So it includes any items they found in the reporting guidelines for systematic reviews and any other guidelines that the items that seemed relevant. Introduction. So they grouped it by section. Certain that here they compile it without references. Of the references. Yeah. Get that. What's that? Table S4 reporting guidance. Extract verbatim for each source. Well, thanks to them, they did publish. Well, this is very great research. Very great, but this is great research, actually, because they actually did publish all the primary data. Congratulations, guys. It's very good. Very refreshing. Title PRISMA abstract. So now they grouped it by PRISMA item, I think, yeah, and they extracted all the verbatim descriptions from different sources. Wow, that's great. I like that methodology. That's a great methodology. Wow. Okay. Created a table, Microsoft Word, with one column for report, another for source of the text. Each row in the table represented a single report item. The table was populated initially with each of the PRISMA checklist items and any corresponding reporting guidance found in the explanation elaboration paper. Initial list of 46 reporting items. The table. The table was then populated by recording from other sources all relevant reporting guidance that differed in any way from what was previously extracted. For example, item 5 of the PRISMA 2009 checklist recommends that authors indicate if a review protocol exists, if and where it can be accessed, and if available, provide registration information, including registration number. The corresponding item in the PRISMA extension for diagnostic test accuracy studies recommends that authors indicate where the review protocol can be accessed and provide registration number if available. Both items were extracted in this instance, given that the wording is slightly different. That's amazing, man. This is really amazing. They did a great job. So they actually compiled all available guidance, all available reporting items, and they compiled all of it. Amazing. We did not extract items that apply only to specific types of aspects of SRs. Okay, once all PRISMA extensions were reviewed, all reporting guidelines for SRs produced by other organizations, authors, other guidance documents Vehicle appraisal tools and other included articles were reviewed in a similar way to identify additional. Okay. This narrative, this man, items already extracted were visited to determine. After reviewing all sources, each source was reviewed a second time in the same order by the sole data extractor to minimize the chance of missing relevant items. Once all sources have been reviewed twice, that's fascinating. One author read the report and guidance extracted from all sources and compiled a list of unique report items. This was done by comparing and contrasting the text extracted and removing any guidance deemed redundant. The final list of unique items was structured by presenting each PRISMA 2009 checklist item. Yeah, that's what we saw in this table, this last table. This is what we saw in the first and in the last table. From the explanation elaboration paper, followed by any additional reporting guidance relevant to that item not including these two sources. For some of the items presented in the list of unique reporting items, we changed the wording from the original source to make it more applicable to assorted interventions, or broke a comprehensive item into multiple sub-items to facilitate clarity. Okay. Well, let it be. They changed the wording. Okay, we counted the number of unique report items across all included sources and the number of items not currently included. So there was just one data extractor. Okay, that's kind of not consistent with the version 6 of Cochrane Handbook, because as far as I remember, they now require double extraction for all reviews. Cochrane Handbook 6. Let's have a look. As far as I remember, open the online handbook. They got the master standards integrated in the handbook, and that's great. Collecting data. So they really add just one extractor. We counted the number of unique report items and the number of items not currently. Okay. Reduction. Monsieur. Multiple reports. Yeah. See key information. Okay. Choose anything. Use a data collection form which has been piloted. Mandatory. Has been piloted. No information. No information about that. Yeah. Extract and outcome data in duplicate. Mandatory. Use at least 2 people working independently to extract outcome data. So, extract and outcome data is mandatorily done in duplicate, according to the latest guidance. But yeah, this review was conducted 2018 when this guidance was not available. But that's just an interesting thing to remember. We plan to conduct a formal systematic search for methodological studies that provided guidance on how to conduct and report source intended these by search mainline. Definitely search use. Yeah, that's what they wanted to do. Exactly. That's I spoke about it, but I didn't find it in the methods section. Why didn't they do it? However, formal screening in March 2018 proved difficult, resulting in a very large number of records to screen, very few which we assumed will be relevant. Therefore, we did not carry out these planned steps and process. So they just changed this methodology to using the previous sample of SARS, right? No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Yeah, I'm messing it all up. No, they didn't do that. That was from others, from this other study. That wasn't that reproducibility. No, so they just didn't do the search for methodological guidance documents. Okay, let's look at the protocol one more time. Number of hertz. Objectives. We will adopt. Okay, review of the literature. We will perform several tasks. We will collate comments on the checklist. Did they collate the comments? Look for problematic. Record PRISMA items with low adherence. Did they do that? I think they did. What was that? Did they include it? Items that were poorly reported. Review. In addition, we will conduct a systematic search for published methodological studies comments that they did, but I'm not sure if they used some of the studies that they mentioned in the protocol, like this and that. These 9. But never mind that even if they didn't, that these are just small deviations which are not really important. Think 60 sources. Yeah, they probably didn't do some of that, didn't use some of the studies, but probably not that important. So it's a good study. The good core. It's good in core. Half of the sources were published in 2016 or later. Blah blah. PRISMA 20 extensions. 26 other sources. Search of Medline for published comments. Search suggested yielded 5,000 citations. 43. Any additional report items? That's interesting. So no additional relevant report items. Okay. Total of 349 report items were extracted from the 60 sources. After comparing and contrasting the items checked for redundancy, we compiled a list of 221 unique report items deemed relevant to this origin. The complete list of 349 items extracted verbatim from each source is presented in table S4. We saw it. We categorized the 221 unique report items in the following broad categories: style, abstract, induction, discussion. Okay, that's clear. There was at least one new relevant report item that could be added to this 46 items extracted. Yeah, in total, some were not captured. It should be somewhere in here, which were not captured. Data availability. These are PRISMA item 26, 27. Administrative information. So we will have access to the final report whether in public access. Nope. Let's move forward and move up. I just want to look at the items that were not present in the PRISMA, the original PRISMA statement. Are these the 7 items? Okay, let's open the original PRISMA checklist, shall we? Looks like logical choice. Information sources. It hasn't got any administrative information here, right? It hasn't. It hasn't got administrative information. Yeah, well, that's very important. Well, I don't know. Very important. Data availability. So these are the 7 items that were not captured, if I'm right. Provide name, institutional affiliation, email, and review. Describe contributions of review author and identify the guarantor, knowledge contributions, people knowledge. These are kind of included in the PRISMA P. So that's just, I think the omission of these administrative information items is just like more or less formal. But yeah, that's important, but that's not kind of a big discovery. Data availability, that's interesting. Always including a link to data file that can be directly analyzed with statistical software, either by providing completely reproducible scripts containing both the data and the reported analysis in free software, or at the very minimum, a spreadsheet that contains all meta-analytic data. Whoa, that's interesting. Yeah, that's important. That's important to capture. And again, whether the data methods used in analysis will be made available. Yeah, that's important. I think that's very important. Trust a digital repository. Who will have access to the final data set? Cite all data sets and program code. References must include persistent identifier. Okay. Okay. The sections of PRISMA 2009 with the highest number of additional items compiled here were methods for synthesizing results. Hidden additional items, for example, more detailed by the statistical method from analysis used, description of synthesis, or similar methods used when analysis was not possible or appropriate. We could actually review these. I just wanna learn how to work with these file methods for synthesis and results. Synthesis and results. Yeah. Sections. Is there? For example. These are all the all the items. Yeah, that compilation. Unique. No, these are the unique items. Methods for synthesis and results. Okay, let's just have a look at it too. Synthesis of results. Yeah. Okay, let's find this item 14 and look. There should be 18 other items, right? Right, the right. Synthesis of results. Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, okay. So now we know how to work with it. So all the additional items are not in bold. They can be found in white. It is important because I'm gonna examine these tables to get an understanding of what was not included in the 2009 PRISMA, to kind of have a preview to what could be included in the 2020 PRISMA, to analyze the final checklist, the draft checklist that I was presented with. Address, administrative information, and data availability. Okay, get that. Number of additional items relevant to the 27 sections. Yeah, discussion is not really, but yeah, that is really interesting because it reflects the thoughts of the authors. More additional items from which we collect proposals. In the 60 sources from which we collected report items, 4 included a proposal for an alternative PRISMA flow diagram or the identification screen inclusion of studies. Proposals included the addition of a text box indicating the number of studies included in a previous version of the review for start updates already available. There is a PRISMA flow diagram for SR updates. It's been published. Separate flow diagrams for different information sources. Yeah, that's probably the thing. Modifications to the formatting within and layout of text boxes. Wow. That's so freaking important. And the addition of the text box indicating the number of irretrievable full text. Pre-screened articles. Yeah. But these are all the different modifications to the general scheme. I don't know if that's important, but well, okay, I'll keep it in mind. Discussion. Based on a selective search for existing guidance on the importance of SRs and meta-analysis, we compiled. Is it recording? It is. Okay. We compiled a list of 221 report items of potential relevance to SRs and meta-analysis. There were 300 and something report items, but they collected, excluding duplicated, or very similar report items. How did they do it? Again, let's just have a look at it. How did they do it? After comparing and contrasting the items to check for redundancy, we compiled. So they compared and contrasted the items to check for redundancy. Okay. I should probably do some notes. Make some notes. Nope. No, that's just very clear, in fact. So, post print. It was. I'm gonna download this. Okay. First of all, I'm gonna download this. This is a post print. So amazing. Okay, most of the items apply the methods section of the SR with information about the information sources, consulted data items collected, and methods for synthesizing results used being the most common. The review generate 175 report items that could potentially be added in an update of the guidance in the PRISMA 2009 statement, including modifications to existing items and addition of new items. I think it is important to, well, I got here. It is important to download these. It is very important to download these files, actually, because it is a very important file. That's just the sources listed in CSV. Never mind that. Okay, so most of them about information sources, data items, and synthesis and results. The review generated. These are actually the items that are most of the pain in the ass. The items that are described in the analysis, because I have actually quite little experience with doing systematic reviews, but I do have some experience with designing a study protocol. According to the PRISMA P guidance, and actually the part about analysis always seemed most difficult for me, but that's probably not relevant. Okay, a major strength of this research is the inclusion of multiple sources, guidance for research and meta-analysis, regardless of the discipline from which they originated or the type of synthesis. Okay, doing so resulting in an extensive set of potential report items for considerations. The majority of sources were published from 2015 onwards. They should provide guidance that is relevant to current SRs. Our findings should be interpreted in light of some limitations. We did not seek the rationale for or evidence underpinning each item extracted, as described by the authors, guideline developers. Therefore, readers should consider the current list of report items table as three in the appendix as possible contenders for inclusion and the updated PRISMA statement, since items have not been ranked in terms of priority for reporting. What is a contender? Contender is a person competing with others. Well, they are contenders, surely. Since items have not been ranked in terms of priority for reporting, also the selection of sources, so they are kind of all similarly ranked. Now that's clear. Also, the selection of sources, extraction of items from sources and compiling list of items was performed by one author only, so it is possible that additional sources and items would have been identified had another author undertaken this exercise. So this is kind of preliminary. They didn't do all the searches they wanted. They just did a single reviewer data extraction, and so they surely did miss some of the items, but they still collected many of them. So it is possible that additional sources and items would have been identified. However, the author reviewed each source twice, which likely minimized the chance of missing relevant items. To our knowledge, this is the first attempt to map the content of other reporting guidance for research meta-analysis against items recommended in the PRISMA 2009 statement. The most similar exercise that we are aware of was that conducted by McGrath and others in preparation for the PRISMA DTA extension. Yeah, they mentioned it in the protocol. The author says, let's just have a look at it. I'm kind of interested. What is this? Study bad recommendations for reporting. How they did it. Search. Yeah, they prepared an extension. Let's just have a look at it. Pepsi full text. Study protocols published in Equator. Perform a systematic review of existing guidance on quality reporting and methodology for MLNI in order to compile at least potential. And that was a preliminary review to developing a PRISMA DTA, the PRISMA DTA statement. And here it's preliminary to developing the update of the PRISMA, of the main PRISMA statement. So I'm not gonna go through these, I think, because they did it, the authors did it. It's not very relevant now. It's just interesting to look at the search strategy that was previously mentioned in the protocol and not used eventually. Wow. An experienced medical information specialist developed a search strategy through an iterative process in consultation with a review team, and was peer reviewed using the PRESS checklist. Strategies use a combination control vocabulary. That's an interesting strategy. We kind of have to have it in mind. Have it in mind because this is a strategy to find what. There was a global strategy. Yeah. What were the inclusion criteria? Include articles in full text or abstracts. What was the objective? We perform it of existing guidance in order to compile a list of potential items that might be included in a reporting guideline. So yeah, that was a search for potential items. Strategies and combination were there were no. We include articles in full text or abstract form that reported on any aspect of reporting DDA systematic review. Specifically, we included studies that evaluated the quality of reporting of any aspect. Uh-huh. Okay. For any citation being relevant, diagnostic techniques and yeah, that is a great strategy. Whoa. That's kind of yeah. That's not processable without using the search builder, the Korean library. Let's look at that. Diagnose near test, near accuracy, test near accuracy, test detailed methods studies. How I'm not really sure. They wanted to implement it and to adapt it to their review. Yeah, not sure how they want to do it. Adapt the methods, but that's kind of hardly adaptable because it is very focused on diagnostic studies. Well, never mind. Probably it's better than they didn't use it. Well, never mind that. Okay, the more sources and items were identified and understanding likely reflects the greater attention that SR methodologies have devoted to SRs of interventions. Ooh, yeah, and they did find less studies, yeah. Fewer studies. 200 studies, yay. And how many items? 64 unique items. Okay. The large number of reported items not captured in PRISMA 2009 that these successfully generated illustrates the value of systematically mapping reporting guidance in previous reporting guidelines, handbooks, and critical appraisal tools when developing in a reporting guideline. Actually, this is an interesting exercise for me right now because I'm in the middle of doing a scope and review of clinical practice guidelines in spinal trauma, on spinal injuries. That's so what I'm gonna do is actually map, and I'm in the middle of developing a protocol. I've already got some preliminary data. I did some preliminary analysis in 2018, and now I'm developing a protocol, and then the study has mostly been developed and conducted before, and now I have to rerun the study and rerun it with some methodological upgrades. So I'm gonna do actually kind of similar thing to what they did here. I'm gonna map. So I'm gonna borrow the methodology. Yeah, for fuck's sake. I'm gonna borrow the methodology. That's fascinating. That's great. Okay. The large number of reported items not captured in PRISMA 2009 that these exercises generate. Systematic map and books curriculum. Okay, generation of a comprehensive item bank through review mapping of the literature facilitates identification of missing items and those in notification which may not otherwise be identified by the guideline development team or other activities commonly used to develop reporting guidelines. E.g., DFI exercise. Use of the item bank to frame discussion at guideline consensus meetings can also potentially. So what they are using to discover new items, new modifications to the item is this review plus the DFI exercise. Use of the item bank to frame discussion at guideline consensus meetings can also, and plus the consensus meeting, yeah. And then the pilot. Okay. Guideline consensus meeting can, and then the development of the explanation and elaboration document. Guideline consensus meetings can also potentially help to mitigate the groupthink that can occur in such meetings. That's an important point. We encourage reporting guideline developers to start a review of reporting guidance by searching the publicly available library maintained by the Equator. There are probably, and there surely are some experiences doing clinical practice guideline updates. So that's not very relevant. There are probably more relevant studies. I have to search for them. That's an important point that I'm gonna have to use actually. But if there are none, or if there are some, but also I could use this one because this is very high methodological quality, very highly organized. Even though some of the activities planned were not done, nevertheless it was done technically and methodologically very clearly. Developers should consider including, along with encourage reporting along with other key sources providing reporting guidance. My case, clinical practice guide for the study design of interest. Developers should consider including it in the review tools designed to appraise the reporting quality of published studies. Doing so can help ensure that what is recommended for reporting in the reporting guidelines aligns with what is expected to have been reported by developers of the critical appraisal tool. That's very clear. 73. What is 73 here? 73. What's that? PRISMA, the journal recently adopted. After providing brief history of the synthesis, this article describes why reporting standards are important. Successful SAR results with teams of reviewers with the proper expertise use the high scientific rigor in all steps of the SAR process. Okay, developers should also document the findings of the literature review transparently so that users can understand clearly what materials and content inform the final reporting guideline developed. That's very right, Despite evidence of improved reporting of SRs over time, an increasing body of literature suggests that adherence to PRISMA 2009 is suboptimal. In a synthesis of 23 studies evaluating the reporting quality of 2,382 SRs published after the PRISMA statement was disseminated, none of the 27 PRISMA items were adhered to by fewer than 2/3 of the SRs. That's interesting. What items? Poorly reported items include SR registration details of existence of a SR protocol, a full electronic storage strategy, methods for assessing risk of bias, and a visual status and fund resource of the SRs. So these are the items that are poorly reported, and some other items are probably well reported, but from the standpoint of the community, they're not they are now reported. They are well reported in accordance with existing PRISMA guidance, but in the opinion of the community, they're not reported in enough detail. So, I mean, these are the items previously mentioned that are there are bad reporting methods of synthesis. Well, some items related to analysis. Well, that's some other important group of items that have to be considered for the PRISMA 22 and the update. The item bank generated in this study was developed to ensure we started with a comprehensive list of items to consider for inclusion in the updated PRISMA statement, not to address the issue of port adherence to PRISMA. Okay, there is a risk that expanded PRISMA to include all items identified in our item bank will prove a greater barrier to adherence to PRISMA in the future, given the extra burden on authors. Therefore, additional work is needed to select items from the item bank that represent an optimal minimum set for authors reporting SRS meta-analysis, which is informed by evidence that supports their report, expert consensus, and user testing. And this is actually what is most important, because all these Delphi exercises and things, that is just expert opinion. It is absolutely not clear that it would work. The most important studies here are that evaluate, that actually assess the difference between using updated guidance and previous guidance. And some randomized studies such as that should be conducted, because we have to systematically and empirically assess how adding or rewarding existing items actually affects reporting, because this is not clear. And no Delphi exercise can actually assess that. We can only just populate it with some ideas. So that's an important thing to consider. The items identified in these reviews subsequently form the basis of a survey of systematic reviewers, methodologists, and journal editors. Conducted in July 2018, results forthcoming. Participants were invited to comment on each of the existing 27 items in the PRISMA 2009 checklist, and again whether they prefer to maintain the item, modify the item, or remove the item from the checklist. Participants were also asked whether each potential new item proposed should be included in the updated statement, and if so, whether it should be included in the checklist or explanation and elaboration paper. Additionally, survey respondents were given the opportunity to propose additional items throughout the survey. We discussed the findings of the survey at an in-person consensus meeting in September 2018. So they report doing all of the steps, actually. The review, the Delphi survey, and the in-person consensus meeting. So, and it was published in 2018, 19, yeah, and now we have the pilot, and that's kind of logical. We discussed the findings. Development of the updated PRISMA statement informed by the literature review survey and many discussions is ongoing. Once the statement has been updated, we also plan to use various strategies to increase adherence that have been used successfully when implementing other reporting guidelines. But before we make the choice to increase adherence, we're not sure that increasing adherence to the reporting checklist is going to do us good. Probably it would. Probably it would, because what we are developing here is a checklist of items that are wanted by the professional community in the reports. So we now know what items are wanted, what end users want to see in the reports. And then we have to improve adherence, that's right. But to improve adherence, we have to use empirical evidence. We have to use evidence-based methods of improving adherence. We should not just... And the thing is that updating the PRISMA statement is actually in itself an adherence improvement exercise, and whether or not it is effective is a matter of discussion, actually. So we have to actually take a note of that. Okay. Proposed additional items. We discussed the findings. So probably they did not add any items in surplus to the additionally to those already identified, because so many literature has been reviewed. Probably not many new items were proposed. Development of the updated PRISMA statement informed by the literature review survey and meeting discussions is ongoing. Okay, we encourage others wishing to generate reporting guidelines and blah 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 blah. So presentations, what we got here? I think I saw this presentation. There was a presentation on YouTube that I actually watched, and that's how I found my way into the PRISMA update group. This is the PRISMA group. Page, Mackenzie, Bossut, Boudron, Hoffman, Morrow, Shamsir, Cho, Glanville, Grimshaw, Robertson, Lalou, Lee, Loader, Mayo, Wilson, McDonald, Stewart, Sloth, Thomas, Tricot, Welch, Whiting, Mower, the Prisma. 26, Cochrane, Colquhoun, Santiago. No. Other contributors. No. I got that. Okay. Report. Users of SRs need to know what authors did and what they found. Clear report and replication, and so on. Yeah, so there are actually two questions. Whether or not including any items, these or any other items, improves reporting. But in the end, does it improve not reporting? But what we want to do with reporting, not just please the end users, but to increase reproducibility. This is our end goal, probably. So that's one question. Does increased reporting lead to increased reproducibility? And that has to be proven using evidence-based methods. The other question is whether or not adherence is how to improve adherence to these reporting guidelines. And these has to be proven using evidence-based methods too. Okay. David Moore. That's David Moore. That's there is no Matthew Page here. That's interesting. That's yeah. David Moore. Doug Elfman, yeah? Okay, several changes over the last 10 years in methods. Almost publication for reporting several items persists arranged layout. So yeah. We have to explore how reporting guidelines are useful for improving reproducibility. Yeah, there is research about that, and it does indicate that the studies that use that have better reporting. Does it still record? It does. That that have better reporting actually have better conduct. probably we have to put more emphasis on reproducibility, because there is way too much emphasis on following reporting guidelines. Actually, following reporting guidelines has become a proxy, a surrogate endpoint for the studies being reproducible. So eventually, all of this, the reporting guidelines in themselves, and the strategies to improve adherence to these reporting guidelines are all part of a big effort of improving reproducibility and scientific quality of the studies. So that's very important that we don't delve into surrogate endpoints. Steering group convened, registered, uploaded, leadership completed, survey completed, reft. Selected review 60. Oh, this is the fifth, probably the seventh draft. Yeah, I'm not opening the draft here, the very draft, because we were asked not to publish it before it is ready for publication. So I'm not doing it. Selective review of 60 guidance documents. Yeah, this is the literature review. Yes, let's see it. Survey. Online survey from June-July 2018 about current potential new PRISMA items. Members of PRISMA group, leads of PRISMA extensions and editors, Cochrane Methods group conveners, scientific committee members are nominated by the steering group survey. 110 respondents from 23 countries. Okay, more than 66% recommended keeping 6 existing items in the ARM of 15 existing items, including 5 of 12 potential new items. A total of 150 pages of free text comments. Well, that's what you came to, actually, guys. But like that's the thing. That's what you want to do. That's what you're doing. PRISMA 2020 consensus meeting held 13 and 14 September 2018. 21 attendees from 7 countries. Presented data from literature review and survey. Discussed the proposed modifications, additional items. Okay, so yeah, modification to. Modifying 15 existing and 5 of potential 12 new. So a lot of actually propositions. Drafting PRISMA 2020. Initial drafted checklist. Elaboration. Yeah, they actually spent a year drafting the checklist. Elaboration. 4 rounds of feedback from the car group. Anticipate further revisions based on piloting. So, overview, title, abstract, introduction, methods, a lot of information. Key changes. Nearly all checklist items have undergone some tweaking. Is a more inclusive wording, reordering, split on some current long items into sub-items. A small number of new items have been introduced. Collaboration extensively revised. Example sought new PRISMA flow diagram templates. But what is actually missing is the changes in infrastructure of PRISMA 2020. Key changes, more explicit request to report various sources used to identify studies, full source searching for all databases, how outcomes were defined and which results were sought, automation tools used, protocol amendments, conflicts of interest, review authors. Sense of results, yeah. Development of online tools to facilitate use. Okay. So I really got some ideas. I saw that protocol survey data. Download. Let's look at the data. That's actually the last thing that's left to look at before I can do my own propositions. Yeah, what I'm going to do is, before we're coming to the conclusion of the video, actually, I'm going to summarize my comments that I made during the video. And then I'm going to just consult with the with a draft checklist outside of the video. Yeah, I'm gonna write complete the survey. Keep. Whoa, this is very interesting survey. They actually got all the survey results here. So, what we got here? What I actually got? I got all the data, all the items that they found in the literature. That's great. I got all the survey data. I can examine it, and I'm gonna do that. I got the very checklist, and I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I'm gonna do some. Well, I think I'm gonna comment on the structure of these checklists, but that's probably not that important, in my opinion. In my opinion, we have to. I have to make 2 points. I'm gonna do that. Point number 1 is that we have to be circumspect enough about about all these research that we are doing. That using a checklist and adhering to the checklist is actually a surrogate endpoint. That we have to do first. We have to do evidence-based research to prove that adhering to our new guideline improves reproducibility. And in such a study, we have to use randomized design. We have to compare the old one and the new one. So here we're going to have to. The best design would be to prospectively do some systematic reviews, to prospectively enroll systematic reviewers, and to randomize them into a PRISMA 2009 arm and PRISMA 2020 arm. Masking is going to be hard to do because most systematic reviewers do know how they look like, but probably something hopefully can be done about that. This is a design issue, so we have to deal with it somehow, and then we have to compare the reproducibility of their reviews. There is going to be a big bias source in that the reviewers that are going to get enrolled are already of rather good methodological expectations are high for these reviewers, and the reviewers that they're doing bad reviews methodologically of low methodological quality are probably not going to be interested in and enrolled in our study. But we have to do a great email and exercise. Probably we have to make effort to contact all the review authors, and even more so with the review authors that did bad reviews. So there is a research proposal in that. So we have to check if it actually worked, and then there's going to be a big design problem associated with measuring reproducibility. And I think that it's time to start actually reproducing reviews, not measuring any surrogate outcomes. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that any measures aimed at enhancing adherence to reporting guidelines, and that includes the very update of the PRISMA. It is in itself a way to improve a measure. Well, that's how we are trying to improve adherence and eventually improve conduct of reviews, improve their quality. So it has to be tested in a valid trial, so any measures that are aimed at improving adherence to PRISMA 2020 and the PRISMA 2020 itself have to be tested in randomized trials. I'm going to come up with some design for that purpose. And yeah, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is that not just the item structure of the PRISMA 2020 is what's important, but the infrastructure of PRISMA 2020. I think that the website has to be reformed totally, and there has to be in 2020. I see no other way than incorporating all PRISMA extensions and all PRISMA and the current PRISMA versions into one set that is easily available from the website. And I think that there have to be some measures planned for the next update of the PRISMA guidelines, and it has to be live updates. It has to be live updates that are easily done and that are that report amendments totally, like some OSF repository has to be connected to that, or a GitHub repository or any other repository has to be connected to that. And I think that GitHub and Git is underused, is totally underused in this setting. So this is my second great point. So 3 things. I'm going to report to the PRISMA 2020 development group 3 points. I'm going to report on my I'm going to report on the very checklist structure. I'm going to analyze the items from the literature review. I'm going to analyze the survey results, and I'm going to make some statements about that. Then I'm going to make the second point about the importance of planning and doing it right now, planning serious testing, evidence-based testing studies. And the third point I'm going to make is improving infrastructure, and it has to be done right now, probably before this starting to disseminate PRISMA. Okay, thank you.